Pokemon TCG Pocket announced yet another set coming on June 26th. Dubbed Eevee Grove, it's a new mini-set that focuses on all the evolutions akin to prismatic evolution from the actual TCG. And as usual, some of the cards were announced. Some strong, some not so much. Let's take a quick dive into each card revealed. Of course, we gotta start with Eevee, which has the lowest HP for an EX card in Pocket so far. But that's actually fine, because its ability, Eevee Evolve, allows you to evolve Eevee as soon as you put it down on your bench. The only caveat, however, is that you can't evolve it if it's your first turn, regardless if you go first or second. The next card revealed was Jolteon with Beginning Bolt that does 40 damage, but if it was evolved that turn, it does 60 instead, and that's only for one energy. Vaporeon has Hyper Whirlpool that does 70 damage, and just like Grindcore, you flip a coin till you get tails, and for each head you discard a random energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. Out of the two, I think Jolteon's definitely better. If you're going second with Eevee and you decide to go with Continuous Steps or Pound or whichever 20 damage move it has, then when you evolve it and you actually end up doing an additional 60 damage, that's 80 damage within 2 turns. Of course, it's not the same amount of damage that Null and Sivali can do, but it's just for 1 energy, and there's no doubt that Jolteon will have a 1 energy retreat as well. So I can maybe see this be in some electric decks. It's definitely a good 1-turn, 2-turn opener. Vaporeon, I don't think is going to get much play, really. Hyper Whirlpool for 3 energy is quite expensive, and you're relying on coin flips. It's just too situational. I don't see this getting much play. Next up is Flareon EX with 150 HP. It has the ability Combust, which is actually really interesting. Once during your turn, you may attach a fire energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon. If you do, deal 20 damage to this Pokemon. Doesn't sound amazing, but if you're running 2 Flareon EXs, or any other Pokemon that is your frontliner for that matter, once that Pokemon gets knocked out, you can quickly put Flareon into the active and get it ready for a fire spin, like, immediately. I think this card's going to get quite a bit of play. It doesn't look that overwhelming, and it doesn't look too scary when you first see it, but I feel like these are the type of cards that just creep up in the meta. I mean, think about it. It's a stage 1 Pokemon that is able to deal 130 damage for essentially just 2 fire energy. So yeah, I think fire decks are going to absolutely love this one. Next up is Espeon with 100 HP. And for 1 Psychic Energy, for Energy Crush, you do 20 damage. But this attack does 20 damage for each energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. I think this card is going to be absolutely insane. Many psychic attacks in TCG Pocket only focus on the energy that is attached to the active Pokemon, and I think this card has been designed specifically to target Darkrai and Giratina decks. It's going to be absolutely punishing, and if this is in the meta, you can say goodbye to Darkrai and Giratina, in my opinion. So yeah, I can certainly see this card having a lot of play in the meta. Next is Umbreon for 100 HP. And for 1 energy, Dark Binding does 40 damage. But of course, if the defending Pokemon is a basic Pokemon, it can't attack during your opponent's next turn. So any decks that are running basic EXs, you're going to get bricked immediately with Umbreon. Very, very scary. I think this is going to make stage 2 decks like Charizard EX a bit more popular. This will absolutely ruin Buzzwole EX decks for sure. I think Rampardos decks are going to get a lot more usage now, because if this becomes meta, again, Giratina, Darkrai, Buzzwole, man, even Oricorio decks, like, it's going to ruin a lot of meta decks with this. And the fact that Umbreon and Espeon aren't EX cards, that is so much safer to play these. So yeah, those 2 cards, they're going to get a ton of play. Next up is Glaceon for 100 HP, and for 2 energy, Ice Blade does 50 damage to any of your opponent's Pokemon. Pretty good. I don't think this is going to get too much play. It is a good card, but Espeon and Umbreon just provide so much more. Water decks are not very good right now, and unless there's other cards in this set that kind of boost it up a bit, I don't see Glaceon getting much play. Next up is Leafeon for 90 HP. For a single energy, Leaf Blast does 10 damage, but this attack does 20 more damage for each grass energy attached to this Pokemon. This is obviously to sync with Serperior. Doubling up those energies will certainly do quite a bit of damage, but if you're trying to set up a stage 1 and a stage 2 Pokemon to pull this off for like what, 50 damage for 2 energy, I don't think it's going to really be worth it. So yeah, I don't really expect this Leafeon card to get much play either. Next up is Sylveon EX with 140 HP, and its ability, Happy Ribbon, allows you to pull 2 cards from your deck when you evolve an Eevee into this card. So if you run 2 of them, that's an additional 4 cards that you're taking out and filling your deck with. Drawing cards is one of the most powerful things you can do in the game, but the 2 Pokemon that can do it right now, which is Meowth and Sigilyph, they just don't provide anything else, especially damage. So they just take up too much space for too little usage. But Sylveon seems to change that. It can provide damage, 70 damage in fact, for 2 energy. It's kind of hard to tell right now if this card will get much use. I think I'm leaning a bit towards the no it won't, but I could be very wrong on that. I just don't know what psychic decks it could sync with to make that happen. Next up is a supporter card, Penny, and when played, you look at a random supporter card that's not Penny from your opponent's deck and shuffle it back into their deck. Use the effect of that card as the effect of this card. I think this is pretty powerful. It's definitely a fun card, but randomness and RNG is really unattractive in Pocket. Not only do you not really know what cards your opponent are running, a card like Penny doesn't allow you to plan ahead against your opponent. If this card allowed you to look at a random supporter card that was in their hand, then you shuffle it back into the deck, and then you use that effect, then I think it would be pretty powerful, because then it's like a mini Mars and you're getting a supporter out of it as well. But you're not doing that, you're just looking at it in their deck and then putting it back. I think this would be a really fun card to use, but whether you see it in ranked play, I don't know. But then again, like, it's such a wild card, right? Like, maybe it could actually see some use if the meta forms in a way where Penny is actually useful. Not to mention, this card gets weaker and weaker the longer the game gets, which only makes this card less appealing to use. Next is Eevee Bag, which is a trainer card, and when played, you can choose one of the following. The first one, which is during this turn, attacks used by Pokemon that evolve from Eevee do 10 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Or the second, which is heal 20 damage from each of your Pokemon that evolve from Eevee. 10 plus damage, not really that great. I don't think a lot of people will be using the first one. I think they'll definitely be using the second one. If the current meta has shown us anything, is that healing and sustain has definitely been much stronger now than it ever has been. But then it does beg the question, is 20 damage being healed enough? Because let's face it, nobody's using potion, right? The healing that we're seeing is Pokemon Center Lady, Erica, and Lily. Oh, of course, Leaf Cape as well, if you count that. Then you got Swirlex and Alkareem. I think these cards are pretty dangerous because Sweet's Overload, which does 40 damage, says that this attack does 40 damage for each time your Pokemon used Sweet Relay during this game. So you're just building momentum into the late game with no additional energy. I think this could get some use. It's definitely an interesting move, but decks right now are so fast that I don't know if Sweet's Overload could get enough time to build up enough damage. I mean, maybe, right? Like, if you used Sweet Relay 3 times, that's 120 damage for 1 energy. It's almost like a Rampardos of sorts, really. I don't know, maybe this could actually be quite a strong card. Honestly, some of this stuff is kind of hard to tell because Umbreon and Espeon are so strong that they're gonna really change the meta in ways that is kind of a little bit too difficult to predict, because Swirlex is not going to be able to use Sweet Relay if they manage to get an Umbreon really quickly onto the bench. But yeah, those are the cards that were announced. Definitely some interesting cards here that are going to absolutely shift the meta in an interesting way. As a Giratina and Darkrai user myself, I'm pretty sad to see that this is most likely the final nail in the coffin, because despite Buzzwole being quite a strong counter deck to that deck, I've certainly seen that deck still prevail even after 2 sets since its release. Definitely looks like the guys that are making this game are trying to shut down that deck in some way, shape or form. So, the final question is, which is the strongest card out of all that was revealed today? My money is going on Espeon. The fact that you can deal damage based on the total amount of energy that has been amassed by your opponent, I think it's going to shake things up a little bit. But maybe you disagree. Let me know why in the comments down below. Or for more Pokemon TCG Pocket videos, you can check out this one, appearing on the end screen now.